Hello you, welcome to Geekism. We're going to carry on working on our dueling coasters today. We're going to start with the theming of it. So like I say, I spoke in the last episode about how we're going to go for a kind of pirate versus redcoats battle, sort of journey towards the Mayan temple, sort of, you know, they landed on the coast of South America or somewhere similar, and they're heading out into the jungle to find a space to set up shop, I guess. Firstly though, we're making some slight changes to the track based on suggestions in the last video. Thank you so much for commenting. People who know a lot more about roller coasters than me pointed out that there are a couple of features you could do and add, and one of the main ones is what's called a high five section. That's basically on a bit of a straight where the coasters themselves turn in towards each other, so it feels almost like if you stretched your hand out you could high five the guy or the girl next to you. Obviously you're still far enough away to not be able to make contact, but that's the idea of it. And also I'm having a little tweak of the track to try and make it so that they finish equally. You'll see here the blue one just needs a little bit of spreading out, because at the moment the blue track finishes earlier. You can see just there, so it's just a case of pulling out the blue track a little just to give it an extra little bit of effort. And it actually ends up being pretty much neck and neck, to the point where in real life, if the weight was a bit different in each car, that they would, a different one would win each time. So it actually works out quite nicely. So the actual layout of the track doesn't change at all. It's just a case of moving a few of the little bits here and doing a little bit of a smoothing pass. Actually do a little bit more of a smoothing pass off camera as well. I really want this to be a really sort of quality coaster, so I spend a lot of time with it off camera as well. And then we start adding this high five section in. So again, it's really just a case of them turning them both inwards and having them so that they enter this point at the same time roughly, and they pretty much do. So again, it just has a nice little feature there and sort of caps off the end of the ride. A little bit of interest there, whereas what was just a regular straight, now you've got this sort of really great, look at that angle, that looks really good from there, doesn't it? And you'll see, actually I don't do it in this video, sorry, you won't actually see what it looks like in this video, but we'll do a full ride through once the theming's done of the ride anyway. Just going to try and drag those in until they're near enough next to each other. Like I say, you couldn't actually reach in and touch each other, but that's kind of the feeling you want to get. And there's a lot of tweaking here, just to kind of smooth them all out really, and just make it a smooth ride but still interesting as well. Here we go, we're going to get a little shot of it here. Oh, so here you go, you will have a bit of an idea of what it looks like. There you go, obviously it's sped up so you can't see exactly, but overall it works quite nicely. And then we're just going to go over and start working on the main theme. We're going to come out and go to YouTube for some reason. We're going to start working on the main theme and the sort of main centerpiece of this ride, which is a Mayan temple. Did a lot of research into this online using sort of Google Images. There's also a fantastic Mayan temple made in Planet Coaster. It was actually made way back in Alpha, and I'm so sorry I can't remember the name of the channel who made it. They still make videos now, but they're very few and far between. You know, we're lucky to get a sort of video every month or two off them, but I'll put a link in the description to it. This ends up being quite similar. I haven't actually used their design as a base for this. It's just that there are only so many pieces in Planet Coaster, and Mayan temples have a very specific look, so they've ended up looking quite similar. We're using mostly sandstone here, and it's just a case of sort of using that base design there and bringing it up and transferring it over. One main key thing about Mayan architecture is, for the most part, it's very square, it's very angular. There are some curves, but they're few and far between, and they're mostly there for accent. Here, what I wanted to do is just to see whether or not it was viewable from the path, and it was, which is fine. Part of me would have liked it to be completely invisible from the, you only saw this if you came onto the ride, but I did have a little play around with placing it in other areas, but it just didn't seem to work. This sort of open space here just lent itself perfectly to being where it settled. One of the key things of the Mayan temple shape is that they have these very steep stairs all the way around, so we're going to put them on the one side and then copy it around with this sort of angular design. It's almost modular in how it's done, so a lot of this we can sort of take a little bit of it and then copy and paste. You'll see a copy and paste happen a lot on this building. We're going to start building a second temple as well, much smaller, but it's a temple that the tracks actually go through, so it's a temple that you actually ride through inside. This is hollow completely. This one, this is purely for aesthetic purposes from the outside. It's just to sort of really set off the idea of this sort of Mayan theming. And at the moment, it looks a little bit sort of stuck out there. But once all the jungle terrain is built up around it, it'll suit the area much better, I think. Okay, so we're using this sandstone block. Very useful block, the sandstone block. One thing I'd really love to see is like a wall piece or a couple of wall pieces that weren't tied to the grid, just one or two, just for sort of like filling in gaps like this sort of thing would be really useful. Talking of things you'd like to see, 1.3 is literally on around the corner. This video should come out Sunday night, which means that the update is a couple of days away. It's happening on Tuesday. I'm actually going to be live streaming the update. So if you want to join me to have a look at some of the new features, it's going to be on this channel. It's going to be from 2 p.m. GMT until 4 p.m. GMT. I don't know why I keep checking whether videos are uploaded or not. This was filmed the other day, so I can't quite remember what was going on here. I look at a couple of curved pieces there, but they just don't work with the style of the Mayan building. In fact, we actually use the coaster pieces here to create a relatively square door, because that really sort of fits the theme a lot better. So yeah, live stream from 2 p.m. until 4 p.m. GMT, or actually BST. We're in British Summer Time at the moment, so check out what that is compared to wherever time zone you are. It'd be great to see you there. If you can't make the live stream, don't worry. I'll also be doing a roundup video of the new features as well, because they seem to go really well on my channel. People quite like the quick sort of look at all the new features, so that'll be on the channel as well. And then we'll look at implementing some of the new features into this park. One thing a lot of people keep asking me is whether or not we've finished the log flume, and if we're going to go back to it. We are going back to it. We are going to finish it. We are going to be doing a full run through of it as well. There is one area still to do. It's actually after the Tortuga area, after the first lift hill, before it drops down into the big pirate battle. There is an area there at the moment that is completely empty, and I have a little idea of what I'd like to do in there. One of the new features coming in 1.3 is a trigger sequencer of some description, which I think will be really good for what I want to do in there. So I'm holding off until that turns up so we can do that. Here is Foliage. I'm actually going to make a cut here until it's all done. There it is, because it's literally just placing plants down. It took me forever. So that's finished. I got a little bit fed up of Mayan for a little while, so I'm going to come down and try something else I've been wanting to try for quite a while. And it's something that I spoke about in the last video. This sort of straight here has got a nice little space in between. And one thing I've seen a few people do now, I forget who originally came up with the idea, but I know one of the first people I saw use it was Estan Wolf, who's got a great channel, by the way. You should check him out. He does some really great builds, very rusticy sort of builds in the game. And that is to make a river using the river rapids. Now, this can be done since we have the terrain feature. So now you can sort of pull terrain up around rides. You can do this really awesome sort of effect, and I'll be honest with you, it doesn't turn out perfectly, and to the point where I think I might actually have another go off camera. I think there's a couple of things wrong. I think it's just a bit too long. I think this effect works better over a bit of a shorter space of shorter area, and also the river, it's too straight, and I don't think that helps either. I think it should probably curve a little more. But I am still quite happy with it as a proof of concept at least, but I do think it's got to go back. One thing I wanted to do was maybe sort of tie it into the station a little and have a little bit of sort of interaction between the station and the river, but now I'm just not too sure, to be honest, whether I like it or not, or whether it just this was a good version 1, but I need to have another go. I'm not too sure. You'll see here that it's just a case of placing it down and then carving into it using the fact that we now have no terrain collision, and it creates this sort of it's just creates this sort of like bubbling river, really. But yeah, again, I'm not quite happy with it, to the point where I don't actually show it as a screenshot at the end, when we do some glamour shots, because I don't think it quite turned out how I wanted it to. So I mean, any suggestions on how to improve it, please let me know. But I think what really needs to happen is that it needs to be a little more swirly, a little bit more sort of bendy as the river goes along. But I love the idea, and like I say, whoever came up with it, I think is a genius. But yeah, it doesn't quite work. And here I wanted it to definitely go into the water. Apart from as soon as the rapids go into the water, there must be an issue with the shaders. So you have to kind of cheat basically and use some of the special effects pieces to carry on the frothiness, the white water nature of the river into the lake. And this actually turns out quite nice, this sort of opening where it opens into the river. I actually think that turns out quite nicely, especially once we fix the terrain and add some of the rocks and plants and the fancy ants. It's just the bit further down bit doesn't really work too well. Maybe it just needs more foliage, maybe it just needs a bit more sort of TLC with the terrain. But yeah, not quite happy with how it finished off. Adding a bit more sand there. Huge new feature coming in 1.3 is a terrain editor, so you can change the terrain paints you have, and it has been confirmed that this is available in old saves as well, which is great for us because obviously we're not going to be starting a new park anytime soon. We're going to play this one until it's finished or my computer dies. So it's a great new feature is that we're going to be able to edit it. So what I may do is change them around a little bit and actually have the proper sand texture from the tropical area, because this sand is a bit more of like a sawdusty sand, I guess, or like a almost like a hay or a very dead grass, whereas what would be nice here is an actual sand. The other thing it means is that we can have the snow textures, and I think this is the big one. You can have the snow textures on any map. So I think I would really like to do a snowy area. Now, whether we do a full-on sort of snowy, gingerbread style area, or we use the snowy terrain for maybe the spooky area, and do something a bit more like Hogsmeade and Universal. If you've been there, they have a Hogsmeade area, which is also like Victorian buildings and snow. I think that could quite lend itself quite nicely to a bit of a spooky theme as well, sort of magic and mischief and mystery. So any ideas again regarding that? That's probably my favourite feature of the update coming, although the billboards look really fun as well. They have these sort of video billboards where you can insert your own videos, and I think they're going to be huge for Dark Rise, especially when we move on to our sci-fi area. I'm thinking like, videos of planets floating around in the background if we do a sort of space... Mission Space or Space Mountain type ride. I don't know, but my head's just full of stuff that I want to try and play. All of this will begin on a Tuesday when we have our live stream from 2 p.m. British Summer Time, so make sure you've checked us out for that. There's a thing you can do on the channel. You can use there's a little notification bell next to the subscribe button. If you press that, it'll give you a little notification when we go live. So moving back over to the Mayan area then, and I wanted to do a temple here. This is the actual design of the shape of the temple. It isn't actually based on anything in real life. It's based on the fact that I wanted a small tunnel that the coasters went through. But the front of the Mayan temple is based on some Google images I found of like Mayan archways. And again, it's all very much a case of using straight angular lines and sort of different heights and depths especially as well seems to be a big thing. We haven't got loads of pieces that work well here. A lot of the stone pieces from the castle set, and I've seen a few people do sort of more generic ruins using some of the fountain pieces on the walls, and they look really, really great. But like I say, with this sort of Mayan style, they just very rarely have curves from what I can tell. Little sort of slight curved decoration like we've got here is about as much as they'll do, but for the most part, the larger structures and the larger spaces are definitely sort of angular in style. So we haven't used them here, but yeah, I've seen some really great work that people have done with sort of temple designs using the fountains and the like the mill pieces from the fairy tale area, the stone mill. They make really great looking shapes with them on the walls, so it looks really good. I did have a little play with it off camera, and it looks good. It looks like a very good temple, but I think if we're going for this sort of like Mayan style that fits with the sort of South American pirates versus redcoats theme, it's all around the same sort of time, really. I mean, we're stretching history a little with it, if I'm honest with you, because a lot of the Mayan discoveries happened a little earlier, I think. Or is it a little later? I don't know. I did do research, promise. I know it sounds like I didn't, but I have had a little look at this and make sure that it sort of makes sense as much as a theme park needs to make sense with its history, So yeah, just trying to find some of the pieces that either we haven't used much or just, that we can use in a slightly different manner to create this sort of this sort of detailed layer of stone. Normally you would sorry, I've just finished a 48-hour shift in work before I've come on it. I put a post on Twitter about it. I've been in work for 2 full days straight, so I'm absolutely exhausted, but I really wanted to get this video out for you guys, so I'm just recording this audio before I go and have a little sleep. So yeah, what was I saying? I totally forgot. Anyway, here's a cool thing. These skull pieces, they're a little oversized, but I feel like as you're running past with a coaster, it doesn't matter so much. I really wanted the kind of this idea of skulls play stuff. I don't really think this fits with Mayan culture necessarily. I believe the Mayans to be a relatively peaceful race. Again, this I may be completely wrong here, but this is the exact sort of thing I would expect to find in a theme park. This was very much based in my head on the Kong ride in Universal. There's skulls everywhere in that place. It's basically built of skulls, and it's absolutely fantastic. And also the other thing I had in my head was years ago my mother used to work in a restaurant called the Lost Mine. It's very long gone now, but they had a wall of skulls that was absolutely fantastic as well. And that was what was in my head when I wanted to sort of pile up the bones there with the skull pieces. Really nice. Again, I'd love to see some more sort of realistically sized skulls I get, and full 3D ones as opposed to the sort of flat, almost plaques that those ones are, I guess. Again, I can see that coming sometime, maybe if we have a November update, October update. I'm sure we're going to see some horror stuff. I'd be very surprised if we don't. So far, all of their updates have very much been themed to the sort of time of the year that they've come out. So obviously we had the winter update that was all sort of gingerbread and Christmas. We had the 1.2, the spring update that was... well, that one was a bit more generic, really, but it was a lot of sort of, travelling fair rides and bits and bobs. This summer update it's mostly based around sort of like Independence Day, I guess. There's a lot of Americana in there, and fireworks obviously as well. Interestingly, Sam Denny said that they were going to save fireworks until November, which is obviously when we use fireworks in the UK the most, with it being Bonfire Night or Guy Fawkes Night. He said that we have some other plans in November. Whether or not that's true, whether or not they have maybe another update planned for November that's sort of spooky themed around the end of Halloween, or what could be a thing as well, I think maybe, is that Bonfire Night or Guy Fawkes Night is a very British thing, and it probably doesn't translate that well to the rest of the world. And although the States use fireworks around that sort of time with Thanksgiving and obviously then just sort of Christmas and New Year's, probably Independence Day, I guess, is considered a big day for fireworks, and a lot of the rest of the world are very aware of it as well. Whereas, like I say, Bonfire Night is a very British thing. Anyway, I might be totally off the mark. Who knows? Maybe they know what they're going to release because the stuff's ready, and then they just find a way to tie it into what time of year it is. That makes sense as well. So a little bit of detail on the archway there. You can see on the inside I've placed some shelving on the left and right there, and that's going to act twofold. One, it's a space for staff to walk up to if they need to, but also we're going to use it for some sort of like pirate booty, as if we're getting towards the end of the ride here. The story of the ride, at least in my head, is we're going to travel up. The lift hill is going to be travelling into the jungle, so the nice thing is you can't really see much until you get to the top of that lift hill. You're going to come down and zoom through the jungle. It's going to be very, very foliage heavy, very tree heavy, really sort of close. Although it's very open at the moment, it's all going to be really close and filled in with trees and bushes and other foliage. And then you're going to come out into a bit of a clearing where we can see a great shot of this Mayan temple, through into this temple, and then this is going to be set up like the pirates have sort of set up base here, so the pirates win the battle, win the sort of the race to get to the temple and claim it as theirs, and then the last part of the ride coming out of the temple is the journey back home, and the sort of like lots sort of sweeping hills and stuff back to base. So that's kind of like the idea in my head, how I've got the narrative. But it's not going to be incredibly narrative intensive. It's it's a roller coaster at the end of the day, so you're going to be moving pretty swift. But that's sort of like the idea I've got in my head of why I'm placing things where I'm placing them. There you go. That's the majority of the build done. It's a case of sort of tying it into the area now. Like I said, there's going to be a lot of foliage here. It's the point where a lot of it I'll probably do off camera, because it's genuinely going to be it's 20 minutes of me putting trees down. So what I'm going to do here is do the foliage around this area, sort of this is going to open into a clearing, so we're gonna have a little set piece with some pirates on the left there as well, although again you're going to be coming through here very quickly, probably won't really notice it, but we're going to do a simple sort of pirate clearing there to set up camp. Again, like I say, this is the as if the pirates have found this area and claimed it as their own. But apart from that, it's going to be very sort of foliage dense. One thing I noticed here, the blue track is a little higher than the red one there, so I do edit that, so there's no need to tell me about that one. I do adjust that. I don't know whether I do it on camera or not, but yeah, here we go. So we've got some treasure chests, barrels. Man, we love those barrels, don't we? You know, some of the fruit and veg stuff there. Pirate munitions. Oh, keep getting stuck on the roof occasionally. There we go. Place some of those down as well. Again, you know, just using the same pieces we've used before, but trying to use them in different sort of circumstances, in different kind of. We're even using a couple of Wild West pieces here with some extra trunks and stuff. You know, and again, you know, these would have been around this sort of time. These sort of suitcases would have been used. You know, pirates will most likely have robbed them from nobility that were on the sea, but you know, they're not a million miles away. You know, to work there. A little bit of lighting. I haven't actually done any nighttime shots here because I do still need to do a lot of work with the lighting. So, but I just wanted to put those on before I forgot about them. And also the other thing that made me think there was I haven't really got any lighting at the bottom of these stairs. I consider putting lighting all the way up, but I really like that smooth slope all the way down the side of the stairs, so I'm going to leave that as is. Here we go. We'll start off with a bit of the foliage there. We're using a lot of trees. The bushes are really quite small when it comes down to it, even the large trees. When I start placing the bushes there, I realised that it's going to take a lot of foliage here, and I thought, you know what, this might be a nice piece, because you want to see the temple behind there anyway. This might be a nice place to do a little bit of an opening and have a few little sort of set pieces. Found this castle piece that I'd kind of forgotten we'd got these doors, and I thought this might be a perfect time to use them. I tried to place it into place, but I'll be honest with you, it just doesn't fit. It just isn't the sort of thing that would actually be there. You know, the Mayans, just as far as I know, didn't have this kind of technology. And as cute as it would have been, as fun as it would have been, I just don't think it would have sat right. So we didn't use it in the end. Although I'm looking at using the wooden door one in that last little bit of the log flume. Like I said, the one bit we're working on still. So we will get to use one of those, and then obviously, you know, the sci-fi area will probably use those doors quite a lot, because the sci-fi door is a really cool piece, and but the idea of sort of automatic doors lends itself a bit more to the sci-fi area. There we go. So we put a couple of pirates down there, sort of chilling out. They've set up camp outside the Mayan temple, and then we'll just sort of do a little bit of foliage here. Nothing major. Obviously, we'll eventually work this down the hill and sort of tie it in with the rest of the pirates area. And you'll notice we're using a bit more varied trees here as well, not just palm trees, because again, I really want this sort of jungle feel here. We've moved in from the coast, we've moved in from the beaches and the palm trees, and now we're getting into some heavier foliage. So there you go, a couple of glamour shots for you then, sort of overview of the area we've built there. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, please give us a like. It really does help out the channel, and if you're not already, don't forget to subscribe. Any thoughts, queries or suggestions, pop them down in the comments, and if you fancy a chat, you can find me on Twitter. Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.